Hello again. In this video, I'm reiterating a bit the goals I'm having with these projects, and I'm going to introduce some of the tools that will help the refactoring. So I started this initiative to retrain myself with all the new technology stacks and use the latest best practices in programming. So it's more like a personal goal, but I thought that in the process it would be nice uh, to share the experience. So instead of doing a project from zero, I had in mind to tackle a problem that is very common nowadays, like refactoring and repurposing legacy apps. The app I'm presenting is actually an app that I built myself between 2008 and 2010. And I'll share a little bit the story behind it. So it's an inventory app. It was designed to work with multiple inventory sources, and the way it was built, it was I was the solo programmer of this application, and I worked hand in hand with someone who owned a business in importing leather from different countries around the world, bringing them on Romanian market, and having different distribution channels. So the guy was pretty literate at that time about how to use software and how to run his business with software, and wanted something new and updated. And he really liked this vision of doing a web application that could be accessible from every time. At that time, I was working at a small company, and my uh, the owner of the company knew this guy, so we started working together. So it was only me as a programmer and him leading the business logic, let's say. And from time to time, his accountant was also giving feedback and suggestions. Sadly, he didn't ever got the chance to use the program himself. One thing because he was constantly adding new features, and another thing because um, I left that small company in 2010, and the project never picked by someone else. But it did went in production. So what you're seeing here is data from a former chain of coffee shops, coffee coffee restaurants in Romania, and they really used it to the maximum. And uh, we also have some data from 2008 and 2009 while it was in production. So since they had a chain of coffee shops, they really used the multiple inventory sources. Uh, they quite uh, they connected all the point of sales through an API that I built, and all the sales data was gathered in a central place, and they could manage very easy all their business. Uh, the reason I wanted to repurpose it, obviously it won't go in production again, but I wanted to have a hands-on project to sharpen refactoring skills. And rather than showing how to build software from grounds up, maybe think about a real life experience of how to actually go into a project and what kind of tools you could use uh, to make the project work. So now that I did this introduction, let's see what I prepared for today. So in terms of tooling, I'll introduce two tools. So until now, you saw me working with Visual Studio Code. I wanted to have an update on my IDE too. So I went for PHPStorm. And this is the paid edition, so it's an IDE pretty used in by PHP programmers. It's made by IntelliJ, and you have to pay for it. So I think I took the subscription that's 19 euros or dollars per month, a monthly subscription. But it comes with a lot more already configured than I could, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time configuring Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is still a good option as it has a lot of extension for PHP, but for this step I wanted also to get familiar with PHPStorm. This came with a little help because it has the ability to inspect your PHP code, and with tools like PHP mess detector, and it can go through your entire code base and shows you the kind of problems you would need to be aware while coding or while reviewing the process. So one thing I spent a little time was configuring custom scoping, because obviously in a legacy project you'll have even more problems from the tools that you import and the third-party libraries. So I started by setting up an exception to exclude the folder where I knew I stored all the third-party items. So after that, you can run the inspection and you'll get a list of errors. So the errors are classified by type, like you have CSS error, general errors, HTML, JSON, JavaScript, and TypeScript. And since a lot of code is written in PHP, different types of PHP errors like code smell, code style. So probably to solve them all, it would be an intense effort. I won't do that for everything, but it gives you a glimpse of what kind of problems you have within this project. So a good practice is to keep it running every time, and at the start of an initiative working with a legacy project, at least do a baseline and start tracking the improvements you make. So aside from this, until now, when I tackled some minor problems and issues, I went for directly running the application, looking into the browser console and noticing errors in the console. But I would like from now on to get a more structured approach, and probably in the videos I'll be doing next, I'll do a little more live coding. So I introduced PHPUnit in equation. So I won't go through the install process. It can be installed with Composer. But what it gives you is the ability to test your code. So rather than doing a manual process, let's say, of interacting with the application, I'll start by having a more scripted approach, and in the end also get some tests. So I wrote the first test, actually testing the login. In the next video, I'll do a more detailed description of the architecture, but At that time, it was built with a tool called XAjax that was leveraging the capability of communicating with front-end and backend. So you had on the server side some functions that you could call from JavaScript. So I'm starting to test actually the server side first, and maybe then at some point do also some videos on testing the interface. Uh, the test will be somehow integration test since it's using the entire stack of the application. So not actually unit test and at least in the first phase, I won't do mocking and things like that. But I just want to know that the function still works and in the process also discover the problems in uh, with undefined indexes and things like that notices. So to run the test, you uh, simply run the vendor bin PHPUnit and give it as a parameter the directory of the test. And I noticed you should redirect the output to do ERR to standard error because it conflicts the fact that it's already using headers and sessions within the application. So this conflicts with the fact that PHPUnit already uh, shows some output when running the test. So for now, it ran 2 tests and 6 assertion because I have also the demo test here, but you could also run the specific file with only the test. Okay, so the setup is pretty much done. In the next episodes and short videos, I'll brief you about the progress and the architecture and do some live testing. That's it for today. Have a great day. Bye bye.